it's okay for people to be upset with you. I have definitely hurt people's feelings. I have definitely put our family unit above other people's feelings, and people have gotten upset with us before. And that's okay. It comes down to trying to micromanage other people's emotions. At this point in my life, I've learned enough that I can let you feel how you're going to feel, because you need to go through and you need to process it. And it's also for the right people created the most beautiful conversations and the most beautiful growth for people who can meet me and have an emotionally intelligent conversation around it. And then what happens? Like, you learn and you grow. If the relationship is important enough to both parties, beautiful things will happen from it. And if they're not, then are those relationships worth saving? So what we wanted to do is we wanted to just give you an opportunity to ask questions. I want to give you kind of the context or the constraint almost around raising your standards. This is something we get to do over and over and over again. And sometimes we don't even know, like, how do I raise my standards? And that the salt, what'd you call it? A salt cellar? Salt cellar was such a great example of just like, this is how I go through the world. I love to cook, so I'm looking for ways in my life to just create a better experience for myself and to up-level how I do things. And that is everything from just buying a new salt cellar. This is like one of the things, we got a salt and pepper shaker. We never had a salt and pepper shaker. And is that crazy? I know.
I use the Trader Joe's.
Yeah, so we never had one, and we host literally all the time. And my uncle was like, he loves to get us a Christmas present. He was like, what do you want? I was like, a nice salt and pepper shaker. So it was just like, all right, raising my standards for hosting, right? Actually having a salt and pepper shaker instead of like the big Whole Foods salt that we normally have. So it is looking for those little like moments of, how do I upgrade? And sometimes it's a bigger thing. And sometimes it's just like, you know what? I'm going to buy a better salt cellar, or I'm going to buy a salt and pepper shaker. So we wanted to just open up this conversation around just setting higher standards for yourself, because it's everything from the little things in your life to what am I allowing? Who am I being around? Who am I letting into my world? How am I letting energy in? So it can be the big things, but the big things don't necessarily mean like money things all of the time either. So I want you to just think about, in your day-to-day life, where are you settling? Where are you just saying, this is fine? My enemy is truly fine. I hate fine. I just... Fuck fine. Yes, we have these conversations a lot around like, fuck fine. I don't want fine. Nothing about me says fine. I want to have an extraordinary life, and you get to decide what that means. Again, sometimes it's about, it's the $15 sunglasses, and sometimes it's about, you know what? I'm not going to have alcohol at my dinners anymore because some family members are not practicing responsibility. So I'm going to set that standard, and I'm going to raise standards. And that's actually like a really true thing. What was that? Christmas 2018. That was the holiday that we stopped serving alcohol.
It's interesting too, because I feel like if you're not setting your own standards, you're adapting to someone else's. And so I think this is where like we get to have this conversation. All of us here have businesses where we have to set the standard because you are the leader. You don't have a choice. And then we get to talk about how this bleeds into your personal life if you want, or anything else.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
For you.
Yeah.
Something I struggle with is like, what is my standard? Like, how do you
quiet the outside noises to set your own standards. So I'll give you like a silly example.
Yeah.
Yesterday I said no to the $4 silly water bottle. And at first I was like, that's so cheap of me. And then I was like, no, I'm not paying $4.50. But like, it was kind of like, I was like, oh, are people going to judge me? Because that's an outside story that I'm being cheap, right? Well, then you got me a water. But like, that's like a silly example, but it's a microcosm of things I do sometimes where I'm like, is this how I feel? Is this my standard? Or am I like letting outside voices dictate what I think the standard should be? How do you, I mean, I know it's getting more in touch with your intuition, but like, how do you decide, like, my mom said we shouldn't serve alcohol at dinner anymore, so we're not serving alcohol, or we are making that decision because that's the standard for us.
Yeah. It comes down to your values, but it also comes down to making the wrong choice sometimes and going, I didn't actually like that. Or you know what? I actually didn't do that for us. I did that for these people. So I'm going to choose this next time. So it is just setting your values, being strong in your values, and then messing up sometimes and being like, you know what? I actually did that for the wrong reasons. Because we've had something recently where I didn't want to pay for something, and it wasn't about being cheap. I just didn't see the value in it. And I can't remember what it was, but it was something like the water situation where it's like, yeah, I have $4. Do I value that? Am I going to spend my money on that? Because if I think like I'm a steward of money and this is how I want to be in relationship with money, so I want to put money into the world in this way, sometimes it is spending $4 on a water, and sometimes it's not. And it doesn't mean that you'll never spend $4 on water, right? It means that you are willing to do the best you can in the moment, and then also say, you know what, that was the right or wrong choice, and then choosing different next time.
Yeah, what I'm hearing from you too is it's reflection on, and it's funny that it's about the water, but like I thought to myself last night, I was like, it's funny that I was a little embarrassed. I said no to the water. And then I was like, I'm pretty glad that was truly, I didn't want to buy the water, right? So like, that's such a silly example, but I think what I'm hearing from you is it's a lot of like reflecting back too on like, how did I feel about that decision I made? Was that true to me? Not just listening to your intuition in the decision, but also after the decision. Okay, it's helpful.
Yeah. Is this for us?
Yeah.
Hello. I just wanted to share, there's a word that's been coming up for me a lot. And then Nicole said it at Icon Live, which is reciprocity. And I've been like trying to figure out why that word just like keeps coming up. And then Nicole mentioned this example of like, we were kind of finishing up at the mall yesterday and we had like 10 minutes to kill. And I said, okay, well, here's the makeup and so I went in and I immediately was like, I can't wait to interact with these women who like, you know, were smiling and they were service professionals. Their job was to try to sell me perfume. But I also was just like, I already like felt their energy was so like, come on in, you ladies look beautiful. Like, do you want to try the new Miss Dior? They were excited to tell me what was in it. Like, and earlier in the day, I'd had a very different experience with a service professional where I did not feel like the energy exchange was good. I did not feel like they were actually excited to serve me or problem solve. And so I came in, definitely my energy was much more aggressive, right? And so I've been feeling too like and this is again like the byproduct of hanging out with Nicole a lot, like who do you let into your bubble? I love people being in my bubble when it's fun and it's it feels like reciprocity. And I will indulge time and energy and have a conversation. And I always feel like I got something out of hanging out with the counter women, even though I didn't buy anything. And I really actually hope that they went home and they're like, oh, this lady was really fun to talk to, right? And also, I'm not actually going to indulge that same level of like my energy and enthusiasm and give and take for somebody that I don't feel has met me there or is actually giving me the same level of service that I expect. And I found myself like, why did I feel like so not defensive? It was actually like a very aggressive posture that I had with the first service person and like so excited by the second. But it was that word of like, I will indulge so much in somebody that is genuinely excited to be there, that I think is genuine, or asking questions for the right reason. They are trying to get something out of it rather than like being a thorn. And I think that's the other thing is just like you only have a finite amount of time and energy. It's like a cash budget. And so like with the microcosm and the voices, I'm like, do I actually care what this person thinks of me? And I like that is a level of like I have a lot of things that come up for me, but like walking onto a stage and like performing is not one because the people that I'm with, I either feel so safe around or I do not care if they think I was the corniest loser on the stage. And that's why I just like, you have the opportunity to be like, how does this person's like belief in me actually affect me?
Also, what I'm hearing from you too is that you learned that by reflecting on different situations. Like, I think that's a big piece of this that I'm hearing that I want to take home with me is like even thinking about these micro situations and like, was I true to what I believe or the standards I have? Or was I performing because I think people are going to judge me? And now you're like, oh, I feel so confident that I don't care if these people judge me.
Yeah.
The other piece of this is like, it's okay for people to be upset with you. It comes down to trying to micromanage other people's emotions. I have definitely hurt people's feelings. I have definitely put our family unit above other people's feelings. And people have gotten upset with us before. And that's okay because one, I don't need to and I don't want to. At this point in my life, I've learned enough that I can let you feel how you're going to feel because you need to go through and you need to process it. And it's also for the right people created the most beautiful conversations and the most beautiful growth for people who can meet me and have an emotionally intelligent conversation around it. And then what happens? Like you learn and you grow. And this is actually something that Dan and I, like Dan is really working on like just like honoring and feeling his emotions. And that is actually a newer thing for us when you've been together for 20 something years. And we're both kind of learning how to navigate that when he has almost like a heightened emotion. And I'm like, okay, like I have to let you be okay, but I'm also learning now that you're showing more emotions. I'm learning how to deal with you showing more emotions. So also you need to be patient with me being patient with you. So it's okay. Like all of that to say, like it's okay. We get upset with each other. We get upset with our family. They get upset with us. And for the right people, you can have a really beautiful conversation, actually strengthen the relationship. So if the people in your life are important enough, if the relationship is important enough to both parties, beautiful things will happen from it. And if they're not, then are those relationships worth saving?
As you are talking through that question and kind of like interpreting what they were saying, I also feel that when you have a set standard, you set the standard, people either rise or fall. Like you, for your family, your spouse, your kids, your friends, but like even the people in your audience. So when we talk about like price objections and we talk about people who like constantly want a discount or want like you get these like crazy people in your DMs, but like I tell people all the time, I don't get that. Like, I don't ever get weird or like outlandish or nobody asks me in 2 years, have never asked me for a discount. Like payment plan, sure. But it's because I set this standard in my messaging and the way that I present my expertise or authority. And I think Nicole does a really great job of this as well, of like just there's an energy exchange that happens that is unsaid, unspoken, but it's also just the way that you carry yourself and communicate through your words that also like help your audience rise to the occasion and be prepared to work with you in a different way. So even, setting standards for yourself, and like I've replaced paper plates with glass plates. Like I refuse to eat on a paper plate. But in your audience as well, you get to bring in or call in the type of client who will rise to the occasion and want to have the standards that you set. And they see the standards in you because you're displaying them on an everyday basis.
That hits so much right now because that's like what I'm going through. Like I'm in the process of up-leveling my standards for my audience and my clients. Yeah. Goes back to the DM that you were going to walk me through. So like, yes, thank you. Lindsay, that was really
Yeah,
cool.
Liz.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm going to be hiring again. I've talked with Katie a little bit about this, and I'm having this kind of internal debate of, do I hire for the experience and expertise, or do I hire for the vibe? The vibe. I love that. Okay, answer. For example, my current client success person who's moving on in a really beautiful way is my sister. And she came to me, stuff going on in her life, and was looking for an opportunity. So she didn't have any of the hard skills. I had to teach her all my systems, all my everything. She kept saying to me in the beginning, I would say, do you have any questions? And she's like, I still don't really understand what a mastermind is. Like multiple times, like just so not from this world. When Slack did their Super Bowl commercial, she texted me and said, I didn't realize it's such a big thing. Okay, so like really none. But her energy, her enthusiasm, and I mean, she has like the skills that matter. She's organized, she's proactive. We have a great relationship. She's become such an asset to me and to my members. Like she's truly so valued. And so she's ready to move on, and it's okay. But I'll never be able to replace her, but I need someone new in that role. And I want someone that has all this. I don't want to have to train someone. I don't want to pay someone who doesn't know what Slack is, right? And the right person, I can teach them and they can excel. And my members love them so much. And I love this person so much. Like that's what I want. And yeah, maybe it's both, but how do you balance that in the hiring of what to prioritize?
I'll give it to Katie for the strategic, but it is both. And you get to find the unicorn. The more you understand, like they actually are out there and it's actually not as unicorny as,
except for Katie, of course.
right. Like it is out there. That person is out there and it can be both. Is it going to be perfect? No. Are you going to have to not train them at all? No, because you have a culture and you have things that you like the way that they're done. So there will be training, but you don't need to go from someone to bring them from 0 to 80. You can start 20, 30. And also I think constraints here can be your best friend of like, can I find someone with this constraint and say like, what if this gets to be fun? What if it could be better than I imagined? And that even when we're bringing in partners, whether it is a team member who's going to come in on our team to working with freelancers or contractors like Brianne and Danny, or even like the vendors we brought in for Elevated After Dark and Icon Live, there's a standard that we have and we do filter for both expertise and vibe. So like Katie can talk to what that actually looks like, but we actually don't want someone who's like not really pumped up to work with a female-led company that's like empowering other women. Everything from like Lucky Finds, who was the boutique that came in, like she was bought in. And that is something that Katie has like really done, is like bring even the vendors in, which like some would think, oh, that's actually not that important. But Katie brings every one of them, even the woman who did the mirrors and did the monogramming and things. Like we brought her in and we're like, this is why you need to be here and be a partner. And this is the ripple effect. And it is creating that culture.
Yeah, I think exactly what Nicole said. I also think I always want to be sensitive to this because I smiled when you said unicorn because that's very affirming to me. And yet also Nicole and I and Dan and I are showing you what's possible when you are like friends and a really good team. And I actually think this does not need to be the standard that you set for yourself. I'll give an example. One of my favorite people to work with on our team right now is Jasmine, who is she comes in, she does a sales coaching call every month. Jasmine and I do not have a ton of interaction. I wouldn't say we're like personal besties, but she is genuine. She'll ask the right questions like, hey, tell me what else is going on in the community. What do I need to be aware of? And then she does her job, which is her zone of genius is talking about sales. and really bringing like, what is she experiencing? What is she seeing in the marketplace? And so I also want to share like the difference between like being so tight, like a number one and a number two. And I've helped also like almost put that maybe too much in showing you what's possible. You don't have to find your number two, your perfect bestie that's working alongside you every day that you're also texting. There is just like the vibe can just be like, am I genuinely like, do I like this person? Do they annoy me, or do I get excited in having an exchange? And can that just be it? So what I would say is that depending on where each of your businesses is, I'll do it through the lens of where I know your business is, but it's okay if you need like a unitasker, right? Meaning like you need somebody to do a job, you need them to do it well, you need them to do it really efficiently, but they're just essentially a tool. And like, but the tool has to be something you're like, oh, I really like using this. I like interacting with, and when I'm done, it goes back on the shelf. And I think based on what you're saying is you really get to put it through the lens of like, what do I need more? Do I need the support where like they do need to have base level skills, but maybe I'm just like at a place in my business where I actually need a thought partner. I need somebody that like supports me, or I actually just need this task totally taken off my plate. And the standard is not that they're this amazing high vibe person. They just like every time I interact with them, I'm like, that was a good energy exchange. So what I would say is like, as you're looking at the job description and as you're hiring, there is a level of, you can even say like, you'll be a good fit if this is the type of work you do. I didn't know what membership.io was, and which is what we use for our portal, but I had a lot of experience in setting up tech and software. You know, I didn't necessarily know like Kit or even like hand raisers, but I understood the world. I was fluent enough in the world. So I think that's really where you can get specific and say, like, you'll be a great fit if this is the type of skill that you have, if you have experience working in things like this and you're excited about applying them to new platforms. And also you highly value communication. You understand that for me as a CEO, this will be a good fit if it's this, this, and this. And then I would also just like trust your intuition when you're talking to somebody. If you get off the call and you're like, that was a really good conversation, that's a good sign. If you don't feel energized, then it's probably a sign that that's going to be what it's like to work with them.
Yeah, and that's really helpful because vibe for sure, like for my clients has been really, it's only ever just been me, right? So to have someone that they love so much, that they go to so much, that they value so much has been so amazing. So I definitely need that.
Yeah.
But also it's the first time I had a team member who is a thought partner, who is like, who comes to me, wouldn't it be fun if, who was like, the stickers are amazing. And when we do our next mailing, we should do it this way. Someone who is as excited about the business that I am. And I'm like, I don't want to not have that because I feel so much more expansive and creative and supportive with that. So I need both. The answer is both.
I think maybe the word to switch is from vibes to values.
Yeah.
Because vibes, it's so elusive, right? And like Katie said, we don't need to be besties, but I do need you to have shared values. And when you understand the values of the company and how we actually operate every day, when we're interviewing a partner from like top down, from a boutique vendor to anyone, or bringing on something, the first thing I always say is communication is number one. There's no silly, stupid, anything questions. We like and we prefer more communication over less communication. So if there's anything you ever don't understand, you bring that to us because that's going to be the most important thing to us. And then, you run down and service. It's communication, service, trust. So having your values actually be at the top, and it's not about 10 values. It's like 1 to 3. Because if they understand and they embody those 1 to 3 values, and you will see very quickly whether they embody your values or not. So being a values-driven company and the hire is actually more important than the vibes.
And that is also really helpful as I'm also considering one of the contractors that I'm working with that I have been frustrated with. And communication is a value and communication is not happening.
Yep.
And so that, like, I also want to take away this conversation, of course, for my permanent team, whatever that means, but also for vendors and contractors as well. That's really helpful.
Yeah, and it does trickle down. It's everything, and that's why vendors, from contractors to team members, will keep showing up for you, and the right ones will love to work with you because you're so clear in your values.
I think it's a matter of like I found a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't think through their values.
100%.
So is it like you are clear in your own, and then is this person automatically living that way? Like, I don't want to train this person.
Is their
Right.
person, if it's a freelancer or contractor, are they operating their business
This way.
even, I mean, it's crazy to say, but are they in integrity and are they operating professionally? Because I would go so far as to say 90% of the business owners out there do not. There are so many people we work with that we just don't work with again, or that fall away because they can't run with us. They just can't.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's the same thing with team members and how they really communicate with you, how they operate within their tasks. So I think just have those filters, and you want to, I don't want to be mind reader. I don't want to be a mind reader. I don't want to surprise people. I want to be very upfront with all of that. And can they rise to the occasion? And you'll see that pretty quickly. And sometimes it changes and then they can't because of whatever circumstance. And that's when it's time to part ways. And that's great too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, Laura?
Follow-up question. Like, how long would you give this person, like, say, like the situation with Jess, how she's grown? Like, how long is acceptable, I guess? Like,
Yeah.
like, is it like a year or I don't know, like 6 months?
I mean, I think this kind of comes back to like the values versus skills. Like skills can be learned over time. And so what we're looking for is a baseline skill level and then giving them more and more opportunities to learn more skills. So like Jess is in a completely different spot now than she was 3 or 4 years ago when we started. But the one thing, like the values, that's something they're not going to grow into. So we like, if we see that they're not operating in integrity or not communicating, that's almost like an immediate, like you're out. Like we even found someone who was like, I thought a fairly decent content person who we thought was going to help us. And she completely ghosted us for like 2 weeks and she did not communicate with us. And something happened with the videos that she took that it wasn't of her quality. And she just didn't tell us. And then she came back and she's like, I'm so sorry. Here's everything. Would love to repair it. And Nicole's just like, no, like that's it. Like that she was skilled, but she did not have values. And so there's almost no overcoming. She didn't have our values. Yeah, she wasn't aligned with us. And so I think over time, like I think the skill level is always improving and they can start, I don't want to say low, but like they're coming into your business. So they have a lot to learn. So your specific way of doing it, how you want the information, how you want that developed, that can take some time. And that's usually like a 30-day increment, 60-day, 90-day. And that's why like that over communication, especially in the beginning, is so important, is because there is a lot of learning. So you are learning, how do they receive feedback when they come to you and they have this report and you don't understand it, or it's not what you wanted. And you say, hey, can you make these changes? Do they make those changes? How long does it take them to make those changes? You know, that kind of stuff. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
My exhaustion level comes from doing that times 10. And when you have so many like actual employees, not just contractors. So it's like, I'm not only coaching, like the office people, but then, also helping Mike and then all the field guys. And it's like, there's 10 individuals that need coaching at almost any given time. And even if I had leads, like it's coaching the leads and then the leads coaching them and the leads coming back to me saying, hey, I need help. And it's just like the people management is a lot on top of, even with employees, of like managing the HR aspect of, payroll and PTO and insurance and all the things. And like, I don't know. Like that's what when I say I'm tired, that's what I mean by I'm tired.
I think like for you to articulate that is really important, because tired is actually it's not a sustainable thing, right? Like tired is not like, oh, I'm like aggravated. You can like, there are other words that you could have used and I'm like, oh, it's this, but tired is like a deep seated, just like energy that like, it's not sustainable. It has to be fixed. I would actually argue that the solution is the same, opportunity for someone who's trying to go from one to group, which is like, how do you coach one to many? And I think you're a great candidate for somebody that like, is it a chief of staff? Is it and again, like when we were talking, I thought Andrea asked a really good question about what's the title. Well, it's important. And also that's who you are. It's not what you do. And I to this day can't actually tell you what my title is. I can give you one, but I don't find that it's very descriptive of like what I do. So I think, again, for you, it could be, is there someone and I could pour everything into them and then they're disseminating. And by the way, when you do that, they actually may need their own number two. Like it gets nuanced. Yeah. I'll be candid and share like even the slides that we were using for leadership. I was like, oh, like I'm in my own up level again, where it's like, if I want to continue to have different opportunities inside of this company, I have to delegate. I have to lead. And it's always been true, but I do find it easy to talk about and hard to implement and hard to like discipline myself when something doesn't go the way I want, to not lose faith in the process. Like I struggle with that same thing that I know all of you do. So there are going to be times when you may say, right now, the best thing for me is actually to have one person. And so I'm not spreading my energy and my wisdom to all of these people, some of whom are going to be receive it and be grateful, and some of them who are not, some of them who are going to take it. Like that's a lot. So could you say it's one person? I'm literally going to hand them everything. And then their job is to either go, because that type of stuff for me, now there are exceptions, and Nicole's extremely cognizant of like my energy and Dan's energy, which is another way that this works. But I don't get tired of that. Like I actually find it to be like fulfilling and helpful and effective for me to be like, okay, great. That's what's coming up for you. Let me go figure out how to talk to all the people and be the air traffic controller, which is an analogy I've used. So I think that could be something for you to look at. And then you just get to be like, okay, and if my number two now needs a number two, like,
yeah, because I think that's what we've always run up against is like every time I think Ashley's there, like her plate is already full. Yeah. So if I do that, then where does all that go? And, then it just doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. That is what I see for you, because you do need the space. Like you're in this era of creativity and like redoing basically your whole industry, like setting new standards for your industry. And how can you do that if you're leading on the day-to-day for all of these people? Yeah. And that may feel also daunting of like that unicorn, but that person is like you. The quote, like, I'm going to butcher it. It's like the person isn't ready until you're ready. That's not it, but it's the
teacher appears when the student is ready.
Yeah, but like the team, thank you. The team member appears when the CEO is ready. Like I really, really, really believe that. So you are ready. You are really ready for this. And the amount of growth that you've had in just being the CEO, your systems, your profit, everything you and Mike have built, and now this new up level for you, you get to have space to have fun again and to do the creative stuff again. And you can tell that is what lights you up.
Yeah.
So
not Bob calling off.
Bob.
Like that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Is exhausting.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think my homework for you would be, and also for you can co-create this, is what's that job description, and like work with Katie to do that, because that unicorn is, you are ready for them. So like they are in the ether, like let's get them.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard that quote by Brene Brown? She says, share your truth with those who have earned the right to hear it. And I think that applies here too.
Yes.
Because sometimes, I know for myself, sometimes in the name of being like, thinking I'm being open or all like, like let's say I'm talking to somebody about hiring, like, and sharing too much, that they haven't earned the right to hear the inner workings of all the things. 100%. So it's like, let's try it out. It'd be like going on a date with somebody. Like you see what you share some truth and see what they do with it, right? Yeah. And then go from there. And I just, for myself, energetically, sometimes I feel like I'm just like, I'm a hot mess, here you go. And no, like cleaning that up here first and then giving something to see if they're a match.
Well, just to wrap, our intention is that you can see it. It really is attainable for you, and you can have this. It starts with you getting clear on what you want, what you desire, what you are ready for, and then going into the strategic of like, this is the standard I get to hold. This is what it gets to look like. And then we can take action on there. But knowing like you are the type of person that can and should and will have a high level of support, and this all contributes to the beautiful life that you want to have and the ripple effect you get to have. So thank you, and thank you all.